Welcome to the Podiatry Profits podcast, where you will discover how to get more patients and multiply the profits of your practice with minimally invasive foot surgery, proven marketing systems, and ethical influencing to your patients. And now, your host, board-certified podiatrist, best-selling author, speaker, and founder of TJ On Coaching and Consulting, Dr. TJ On.
Hello, listeners and colleagues. This is Dr. TJ On. Welcome to another yet beautiful, awesome episode of Podiatry Profits podcast. How have you been past week? So this episode will be interesting. Again, I was interviewed at another podcast host, Dr. Tyson E. Franklin from Australia, Down Under. And actually, it was not only fun, but we kind of hit off on a lot of different subjects. So, I asked him permission if I can let my listeners to get this, get the hands on this special episode. So he said yes. That was so nice of him. You will love this episode because I'm going to be talking about my Aikido, my journey. Aikido is, by the way, Japanese martial arts. And then again, we elaborated into different subjects, importance of networking and connection, how teachers and mentors will help you, achieve your dreams, a shortcut, being adaptable and experimentalist. I always have an issue with pronouncing this. Experimentalist, and the how you can increase your podiatry service to a concierge level with some strategies and tactics. And I actually also talk about the force of average I learned from another mentor at different business mastermind meeting, that how that force of average works on you secretly, quietly, to prevent you from going through the next level. So, and also I talk about the social bullying that exists in modern society. So bullying is not only happening in the children and teenager, but it actually works in a bigger scale grown-ups. So, you might find this episode very interesting. So without further ado, I'm going to play. By the way, if you love my episode, please don't forget to subscribe my podcast to your playlist. This way you will not miss the episode. And also, please write me a simple sentence and give me a rating if you love my podcast. That really helped me continue to provide you this type of value podcast for you. Thank you so much and enjoy the episode.
My guest today is Dr. TJ On. He lives in the United States, in Chicago, but he made his way there via Korea. And what I think is amazing is when I read a little bit about his bio, when he arrived in America, you could not speak English.
Very little.
Thank you for coming on the show for starters. And can you tell me a little bit about moving from Korea to America in the first place?
Well, first of all, it's my honor to be invited here in your show, Tyson. And I've been listening to your show. A couple of colleagues, they recommended to listen to your show, and actually mutual colleague, they've been to your show. And, again, I truly appreciate, you invite me here. Well, I came when I was 19. And at the time, Korea was kind of in the midst of democracy, coming from more dictatorship to democracy, and a lot of movement going on when I was high school and going through first freshman in college. It was very tough times, economically, politically, and a lot of young generation at the time. We have like no vision, kind of hard to see the vision. Well, now if I knew, 30 years later, if Korea, has been advanced this far, I wouldn't have known back then.
Yeah.
So for us, getting out of Korea, well, for me, since I was 14, I was like dreaming every night.
What year did you leave Korea?
End of 1990.
Okay, just after the Olympic Games, 88.
Yeah. So that was really turning point. But since I was 14, I was looking through like old used bookstore, bring Korea, I mean the United States magazine. And then I was telling myself, I'm gonna get out of Korea. I'm gonna get out of Korea.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, I guess before I knew it, it was my mindset exercise at the time. And then it finally, I had the opportunity. So I didn't even think twice. I decided to just go for it by myself.
So you moved to America and you said that your English was very minimal.
Yeah, imagine if I don't know if you've been to America, you know, the Southern accent, right? Like Tennessee, you know, the Texas. So I chose Tennessee because, you know, lack of information, no internet at the time. I thought like somewhere like Tennessee, there will be no Korean people. I didn't want to mingle with the Korean. I had a very strong goal. And then if I'm coming to United States, I didn't want to choose big cities where I possibly find the leeway and then trying maybe hang out with the Korean people
Yeah.
because you feel more comfortable. So I chose Tennessee and, you know, yeah, I mean, I had very little English. I knew grammar. I knew some, you know, basics. We learned English since high school, I mean, middle school, high school, but no spoken English. So I had some idea, you know, but like, how are you? I'm fine, thank you, you know, and you type of thing, right? But no Southern accent. And I mean, it was tough.
So I take it in Tennessee, there were there any Korean people that you met there, or there was just
There was no Korean.
no Korean?
Yeah, a lot of Japanese though.
Yeah.
A lot of Japanese people. There were huge Japanese automobile company. So a lot of Japanese students were there.
Okay, so when you first got to America, you arrived, you got here, you knew you were going to improve your English because you were forced to speak English. How long after arriving in America did you then decide you wanted to be a podiatrist?
Oh, that's a while. That's a long time. My mother's side was a doctor. My mom's dad, they forced me to become a doctor. And again, typical, you know, it makes kids rebellious. So
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I mean, one profession I'm not going to choose is to become a doctor. So I chose computer science and business double major. I graduated with those majors. I was heavily involved in martial arts at the time. So I decided to go to Japan. I spent a year and a half working as a computer programmer. But then somewhere at that time, 1995 or so, it hit me that I better be a doctor. That's on my own conclusion, on my own decision. I love using my hands. I love working with people, helping people. So I came back to Tennessee and then did biochem major again, and then went to podiatry school in 1997.
Okay, just take one step back. Did you say you were doing martial arts as well?
Yeah. I was very serious in Aikido, the Japanese Aikido.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I met my first Aikido teacher in Tennessee, and you know, it's kind of now look back, it's so important whom we meet, and then you know how that kind of determines. Now that I look back, that martial arts teacher I met, he was a Southern Baptist. He was a typical Caucasian American, but very seriously involved in Japanese Aikido. And my first teacher, his name is Rob, but he introduced me to Chicago, which we had headquarters in Chicago.
Yeah.
So that's how we start traveling to Chicago for summer camp and, you know, winter training. And then I start seeing Chicago scenes, and it seems very similar to Seoul, where I'm from. So, you know, anyway, yeah, martial arts, Aikido, close to 20 years. And then also Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I happened to meet in Chicago. So Jiu-Jitsu for about 12 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always find it interesting, people that have done martial arts over a number of years, a certain discipline that they have. That
Yeah.
you can usually pick when you're talking to them, it'll come up in conversation, which I think is fascinating. And I love all types of martial arts. I just get a lot of enjoyment watching it. We were in Japan a couple of years ago, and they had an Aikido demonstration on in this park. We sat there for an hour or so watching it, and there was an older guy, looked like he was about 4 foot tall and 100 years of age, and he is just throwing people all over the place.
Yeah.
All these people are coming at him, and it was so enjoyable to watch. But I thought it was really interesting what you said when you met Rob in Tennessee, how the connections that you make. And I've had other people on the podcast who have said the same thing, that always just pay special attention to the people you meet throughout your life. And when you meet interesting people, is make a really big effort to stay in touch with those people, because it's an accumulation of it's this network you build over your career. Your career doesn't take place in a 1 or 2 year period. It's over a number of decades, and you collect friends and acquaintances and relationships over the long term, and you don't know where it's going to take you.
So I agree. I cannot agree with you, anymore. My martial arts teacher, through him, I met my true master. His name is Tohei Sensei. He was in Chicago. He passed away, unfortunately, but he was also Zen master. So during the training, he talks about a lot of Zen philosophy and stuff. I remember what you just told me, how you meet people, and then they kind of formed your personality and character as well. And he says, when we are immature emotionally and physically, I mean, you're like he compared to square, and then more you get trained, that square becomes triangle, and then that triangle, more training, more experience, more wisdom, it becomes circle.
Yeah.
And then what we want to become, after all, is a circle. And then, that's kind of main philosophy of Aikido. But those people I met, teachers I met, mentors I met, they kind of, knock out some bad edges that I shouldn't have. And then, before I know it, just by hanging out with these people, it just kind of forms where I am now and who I become. And I really believe, whom you meet is very important, critical.
Oh, definitely. And I think through your whole podiatry career, it's the people you meet all the way, everything you do, people you meet outside of podiatry, that also influences your thinking and your mindset and how you approach life. And I honestly believe, and you read it in numerous books, you have a look at the 5 people you're the closest to and who you hang around with, and that has a massive influence on your drive, your dedication, how you approach each day. And I've been at events where I'll talk to a podiatrist for 2 minutes and I find them a little bit negative or a bit of a downer to talk to, and then you'll see who they're associating with, and you talk to them and you go, my God, they're all the same. Then you hang around someone who's really upbeat and positive, and you see who they hang around with, and you go, oh, no wonder. Yeah, I want to hang around that group. So I think people need to do that and need to be aware of the differences and how they influence people. Yeah,
especially now with this COVID and all this post-pandemic and new normal, people are tight, very uptight, stressed out. They're almost, I just spoke with another influencer the other day. Seems like podiatry profession, especially now because of all this healthcare climate change, on top of that, this whole pandemic, it creates a lot of uncertainty, and doctors and podiatrists, they're really down and kind of distressed and discouraged and losing hope. So this is like critical time that you start recharge yourself and then meet people who are maybe more successful, more advanced than you, and then trying to just see the nice side of it, positive side of it, and encourage yourself to get out of that whatever hole or tunnel that you're thinking you are at, which is really just a paper thin. If you just look the other side, I mean, I really believe that little mindset shift will take you a long way.
Yeah, I think sometimes too, people get mixed up with what they do and who they are. Mm-hmm. You may do podiatry, may be your profession, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's what you are or who you are. That's just it's what you do. And I think some people can't find the difference between who they are as a person and what they do as a profession. And when we go through times like COVID and maybe work's been affected and your business may be affected, that it really sort of drags down on them.
Totally. You know more than probably anybody. Podiatrist is what we do, but you cannot get too much of emotional involvement into your business. But a lot of doctors tend to become too emotional, and that up and down of business side of it. And I always trying to tell them, just think of it as a number. Business. I know business is like your baby, but you cannot put too much emotion to it. And like you said, don't forget who you are, and don't forget your family.
Yeah.
Don't forget we have one life.
Oh, definitely.
We better make the best out of it. Yeah.
I must admit, when I sold my last practice, and it was one of those things where I had broken emotional tie. Initially, I was very emotionally attached to my business, but when it came time to selling it, I was not emotionally attached to it at all. So when I walked away from it, and the people that took it over changed things, may not have run it the same way that I ran it, maybe it didn't perform as well. Staff that were there kept saying to me, doesn't it hurt you to see what's happened to your business? And I go, no, it doesn't, because I had emotionally broken those strings way beforehand. So I was no longer emotionally attached to it. Plus, I just kept looking at what they paid me, and it put a big smile on my face. So, so I didn't worry about that. So let's get back to you. So you decided to do podiatry, and so where did you end up studying podiatry?
In Chicago.
Oh, so it was in Chicago?
College of Podiatry.
Yeah, and you're in Chicago now.
Yeah. Since then, pretty much this became my second hometown was Tennessee, Maryville, Tennessee, and then third hometown became like Chicago.
And they're completely different places. Like Chicago to Tennessee.
Yeah, it must be my destiny. It must be. I don't feel too foreign wherever I go. I've been, again, I've spent time in Japan. I've spent time in actually South America too.
Yeah.
I didn't live there, but I visited quite often, stayed quite a while. But for me, I don't know. I love meeting people, and I think I'm more like, I don't know if this is English word or not, but experimentalist. I love to experience. I love to explore. I get excited and that adrenaline rush for something I haven't tried before.
Yeah.
So maybe that's my trait, So again, surgery, when I came to that new techniques and stuff, whenever I see new technique, it doesn't scare me, but it makes me excited.
It's being adaptable. It's having adaptability.
Oh, that's cool.
So I've always been able to adapt to situations really easily. You've taken it to that next level coming from another country. But I think that trait is very helpful in podiatry when new techniques are sort of presented to us or new ideas. And some podiatrists almost put a wall up and go, oh, no, I want to just keep doing it the way that I've always done it. And other people just embrace the change, dive into it, and then usually come out the other end successful.
Actually, you put that beautifully. Oh, I want to paraphrase next time when I speak. You know why? Because that adaptability, that's very true. Because I've been talking about that in marketing sense for podiatrists, that I always compare this to survival of the fittest, the Darwin's theory. I mean, we do have to adapt to new environment to survive. It's not always the biggest guy, tallest animal to survive, but the fastest one who gets to adapt to the new environment, they're the ones who survive. And I guess you're right. I do have that trait that I didn't realize. Maybe that's why I perceive that as not fear, but more like a challenge.
Well, it's one of the things too that I think right now with COVID, a lot of podiatrists have got to learn to adapt. Like you do business coaching as well. So you, what's the name of your coaching business?
Oh, TJ on Coaching and Consulting.
Okay, I'll put a link in the show notes. So you're helping podiatrists with their businesses as well. And I think right now, this is when people have got to learn to adapt to the change. You can't sit down, whinge and complain about it and have a sulk and say, life is unfair. They've just got to adapt with what's happening and basically make those changes.
Yeah. So again, that adaptation came for me 2012 to 2014, that era, that I was gonna quit podiatry because United States, that downfall of insurance reimbursement and whole healthcare rules and regulations just make our job so difficult, and it still is. So, I learned that from martial arts. So if you see the strongest opponent, I mean, probably the best way is just run away, So instead of trying to fight against a big force, okay, so I have two choice. I can just choose different profession. Again, I have that entrepreneurship at heart.
Yeah.
So I was involved in real estate, some restaurant business. So I'm like, okay, maybe just quit podiatry and focus on real estate, or create a Korean barbecue chain franchise. Then again, another adaptation came 2014, that I saw this one niche skill set that kind of, it was like lightning struck on my head. Why don't I use this to adapt my podiatry practice to a new level that I don't have to deal with the insurance plan? So that's the whole brand new adaptation happened around that 2014 through 2016 in my own practice.
And I know right now, so in Australia and the UK, for example, working with insurance companies isn't as difficult as it is in the United States. So I'm sure there's a lot of podiatrists in the United States right now. They've just heard what you said and their ears have just pricked up.
Yeah, and I'm sure I can see it.
And so one of the things it's about, when I had, John Juliana?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so when he was on the show and he was talking about with COVID and all the changes that need to be made, where now's the perfect opportunity. We can just see less patients, but provide better care. And in the end, you can still have an absolute cracking business.
Oh, yeah. That, again, a lot of that, I love my colleagues. That's why I started consulting it naturally, organically evolved from helping my own colleague around Chicago. And then it became to this business because a lot of US based podiatrists, we are brainwashed by, the school system and insurance system, that a lot of podiatrists think they're worth equal to what U.S. healthcare reimbursement pays.
Yeah.
So that's a big mindset block that, okay, my bunion procedure is worth what CPT, which is a healthcare code in the United States, what CPT reimburse. So that's the first mindset that they need to break through. And like you said, I went through that before COVID, 2016 and 17. I start decreasing number of patients to see. However, I increased the service level to concierge level, and we can finally start opt out of bad insurance plans and start treating patients the way you're supposed to. And then you get treated and you get rewards the way we're supposed to. And again, now this COVID hits this year, and another big proof for me that this is COVID proof, that you don't have to rely on volume. And a lot of US-based podiatrists, they're still thinking, how can I get more patients? How can I see more patients and work 80 hours a week? That's not the way it's going to bulletproof you, and that's not the way healthy for you emotionally and physically.
No, I've been doing some group coaching recently and doing this podiatry business reboot, pretty much off the back of what COVID had done to people's practices. And I thought, okay, I've got all this knowledge in my head. Let's put it together into something that I can help people get their businesses back on track. And it's surprising how many times you'll hear podiatrists always wanting more new patients. Everything's about new patients, which is fine. But if you look after the existing patients, and there's certain ways that you can actually do that there's already a gold mine in your practice. People just don't realize what's directly in front of them sometimes.
It's so true. People who have paid you, trusted you enough to pay for your service once, they're your loyal followers. And I do have my clients as well, just like you did, Tyson. I had one special coaching for the topic The topic title was Reactivation of Existing Patients. So I helped other doctors how you can reactivate, your current patients for your other services.
I think the reactivation is a really, really important key. One of the things that we spoke about over like a 3 or 4 week period were recalls, reactivation, following up incomplete treatment. Those 3 areas of your business are so important. And if you're not getting them right, it's just like like we say, it's like having a bucket and it's got holes in it. You're pumping all these new patients in just to watch them all fall out the holes. If you plug up the holes, you don't need to put as many new patients in all the time.
Yeah. They already love you, that KLT, right? They know you, like you, trust you. That if you see, don't look too far away, especially reactivation of your own patients, it doesn't cost you any money. It just costs your staff time to call them,
Yeah.
or maybe a little postcard to remind them, hey, I'm here, we still provide services, even that, and some referral. Again, I do paid advertising through, the Google, Facebook, lead generation. So I do high level of funnels and, bring high value patients for my concierge. However, you don't have to do that solely, but you can still reactivate your current patients so you can save your advertising budget, but then you can still bring more patients in for your, services.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I want to point out to people, you've written a book called Opt Out.
It's right here. So you
yeah,
see
yeah. So if you're watching the video at the moment, you'll see the book. So on the top it says, a whole new perspective on modern private practice. So this book only came out towards the end of 2019.
Correct. Yeah, it's available in Amazon.
I know. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the Amazon page right now. And do you have an audio book as well, or is it just in print?
Yeah, I do have an audio book. It professionally done. Again, I didn't want to use my own voice. I have an accent. I was thinking about it.
I didn't notice you had an accent. Well, I wish you hadn't told me. Now that you've told me, I notice it.
So I use a very standard American accent voiceover actor.
Yeah.
So it's a very professionally done. However, Tyson, can I drop some value bomb here?
Oh yeah, drop as many as you want.
So for your listeners, it's optoutbook.com. It's optoutbook.com. They can get this physical book for free. They just have to cover for shipping. And I'll send this physical book with some of my personal notes and some more valuable information enclosed into that envelope. And I'd love to send this book to any listener of your show who checks out my site.
Well, I'll put a link in the show notes as well, and I'll also in the Podiatry Business Owners Club and on the Podiatry Legends podcast pages, I will put a thing about a link to that website as well, so people can go on there and grab a copy of the book.
Yeah, I do have a free Facebook group too. So if it's okay with you,
what's the Facebook group?
Facebook group is Podiatry Profits.
Oh, I like the name, Podiatry Profits.
You see, reason why I come up with that idea is that a lot of podiatrists are focusing on revenue. Yeah. So that revenue makes you think about volume, because again, in United States, typically you have to see volume to generate revenue. So for me, it's a negative connotation. What about not just revenue, but what about profit? So if you can focus on your profit, then you don't have to so much rely on volume or insurance plan, but you provide quality service to just enough less patients. I typically see 10 patients a day, 3 days a week. So I love what I'm doing. I'm excited to get up every day because, I have a few surgical patients and, 7, 8 follow-up patients, new patients. I'm okay because my profit is fine, better than most podiatrists who heavily rely on volume and revenue. So that's why I love the idea of profits.
Oh, that is so true, because so often people go, oh, I turned over $1 million last year. And you go, okay, well, what did you keep? Because someone might turn over 1 million. Yeah, they might turn over 1 million and keep 200,000. Somebody else might be turning over $500,000 but keeping 300,000. Which business would you prefer?
Yep, I totally. That's my pitch basically for my coaching and consulting. Hey, would you like to make 1 million and then bring 20% back home, or just make 500,000, brings 45% home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we get too focused on the generation of revenue, and sometimes we don't look at our expenses as well. There's a lot of areas where you could probably trim the fat a little bit and have a more
So
profitable
true.
business, but you need to sit back and take a look at it. So in your book, what are you covering in the book that the premise of opt-out?
Sure. This is like 97 pages or so. So I came up with this idea when I was traveling back to South Korea, like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
So it was an 8-hour trip. So I just started writing notes, and that's when I kind of decided, okay, my second career um, after podiatrist is not just helping my patients, but how can I help my colleagues so that they don't have to struggle throughout their career. So this is like, I should call it like playbook. It's a playbook. It's not a thin, I mean, it's not an ebook, but it's a playbook that has 10,000-foot overview of concierge practice, idea of concierge practice. And a lot of podiatrists in the United States, when I say word concierge, and they run away, they're like, "Oh, I'm fearful of talking about money. Oh, are you crazy, TJ? I'm gonna drop out my insurance plan. I'm gonna lose all the patients." So I came up with, okay, so it's not concierge, doc. It's a hybrid concierge. So hybrid concierge, you keep the good insurance plan, but you don't have to hold on to bad insurance. And I can show you the way, because I've proven to myself. I helped many doctors in the United States now. So that's like overview of big pictures. I call it introduction. And then first part is anatomy of podiatry success. And then second part is physiology of success. So
Yeah.
I call it anatomy, physiology. It's almost like a strategy and tactics.
Okay, yeah, that makes total sense. And I always say that with strategy and tactics. Strategy is like the diagnosis, and tactics is the treatment. And sometimes,
I like that, yeah.
and sometimes people will just dive into the treatment. They're hell bent on coming up with more tactics to get more patients in, not first realizing what's the diagnosis, what's the strategy of your business first. Once you figure out what the diagnosis is, then you can put the treatment plan in place. No different to how you work with your patients.
Oh, that's true. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, strategy and tactics, I think sometimes people just get them totally mixed up.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Some people are good at strategy, some people are good at tactics. But as a mentor and as a coach, I'm sure you agree with this. You will be able to tell, like, as soon as you talk to someone and start mentoring someone into your program, you can tell what's his strength, what's her weakness, and then, like, is it more strategist or tactician? And then you're the one who can guide them. Okay, I can amplify what they're good at already, but I need to hone the other side where they're weak. I think that's why I love helping other doctors, because when I see that outcome from them going through breakthrough and then their profit surges, it just makes my day. Whenever I get these beautiful testimonials and video, and we have a private membership portal, and we have a section that doctors declare their small wins.
Yeah.
And I'm helping them to focus on, hey, do small wins. You don't need big wins right now. And small wins every day, and then it'll build you into that big win.
Well, I had 2 one-on-one coaching clients that I've only been working with since the whole COVID-19 thing started. And I've had 2 of them send me emails early this month, so we're recording this in August, who said to me that July was the best month they have ever had.
Oh, that's so nice.
And so nice. As soon as I got the email, I just went and said to my wife, I said, look at this. I said, how good is this? And it makes you feel good that, one, you're helping. Like, I get a real buzz out of helping other podiatrists have good businesses. I've always enjoyed it, which is why I'm doing this now. But it's also good for them to see that while a lot of people are running around saying the sky is falling, if you run your business the right way, now is a great opportunity to actually build your business and take it to that next level. Make it different to everybody else.
Yeah, I think history, that's why I think people should study history. I love history, Asian history, European history, rise and falls of dynasties. I love those. The golden opportunity, I truly believe this, golden opportunity always arises during the crisis.
Yeah.
And, if you decide to be a victim or winner, it's up to you. But I think if you can find this as your golden opportunity, this is once in a lifetime. So, I think that if you can tweak your mindset, find your niche, get some solid marketing strategy and tactics in place, and adjust your the practice system, I think you're set to be crazy profit victory, and also help you finally realize why you became a podiatrist in the first place.
Yeah. I know some people who not anti-business, but they're almost like anti-success. I'm not into podiatry for the money. I'm into it because I wanted to help people. And I'm thinking, do you know that if you actually help people the right way, you can't help but make money? And if you don't like the money, you have two options. You can give it to charity, or you can give it to me, whichever one makes you feel better. But if you're really anti-money, you don't have to keep it. You can actually give it away. There could be I'm sure there's local charities that would love for your podiatry business to be more successful, and you give them $100,000 a year if you don't really want to put it in your bank account.
Yeah, so true. I mean, how can you help other people if you cannot help yourself and your own family?
Yeah.
I mean, I always believe in that. That's the whole idea of that money is the root of all evil. I mean, that's such a baloney. That whole term created by probably media and history and big institution and Big Brother, that they want everybody to be average. So I call it force of average. I learned from my mentor.
Oh, force of average.
Force of average. There's a beautiful universal force of abundance, but there is a force of average working on you whenever you start being in doubt about being well, that's called also fear of success, right? I'm sure you know. So a lot of doctors have that, even if they don't want to admit it. They have that fear of fear of success, because that force of average, you're working on them. Hey, TJ, no, you cannot be successful. Just be where you are and be happy where you are, and survive your life and get your retirement fund, and then just finish your life. Is that why we were born to do what we do? I don't think so. I think we all of us born to create a little nick on this earth before we leave this life. And I don't want you to get discouraged and swayed by the force of average working on you. You need to get that out of the way, and then just achieve your dream, achieve your goal. And then don't forget why you became a podiatrist when you were going to school. We forget because of this life, because of this tough work style. You have life, you have family, you have this beautiful one-time life before we finish this. So
yeah,
I get a little emotional.
I know, like, I just agree with you. Somebody asked me a while back, why do I do what I do now? And I said, well, I know personally I will not find the cure for cancer. It's pretty obvious. But I'm hoping one day I inspire somebody who inspires somebody who inspires somebody who does find the cure for cancer. And I sometimes feel I'm just a cog in this. I'm just one little cog in this massive wheel that's going to go around. And whatever knowledge I push, it could be this podcast. There'd be a podiatry student right now, or a podiatrist who's been out for a few years, who are listening to this conversation between you and I, and it just sets off a trigger in their head. And they go on and achieve amazing things. But by them achieving amazing things, they might donate money to a charity that helps an orphanage. There's a kid in that orphanage that all of a sudden ends up going to medical school and becomes a research scientist and finds a cure for cancer, all because of our conversation today. So it's like almost like the butterfly effect. It's just what is going to happen.
I love it. Yeah, butterfly effect. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I think We've just got to be our best selves today, next week, next month, and when our numbers up, then at least we can go out with a smile on our face.
Yeah, yeah. When I help other doctors, that's the first thing I work on. That when you wake up tomorrow, are you gonna be a better version of yourself, or you're gonna be a same version of yourself, or maybe worse version of yourself? And again, when we focus on goal, attainable goal, and then just driven and focus on it and implement. That's a big for me. Implementation, without implementation is basically nothing. It's just a dream.
Yeah.
But when you have implementation and goal in mind and actually get to do it, and then take action, get it done, then I think that habit, you create a habit of getting small tasks done every day toward the big goal. I think it'll make you feel good, make you feel alive. And again, there's no gloomy, I think there's a better future for you. That's my passion and my job and mission that I feel like nowadays.
I tell you, I get pumped up when I get certain guests on here, and I just get. I'm very calm as I'm talking, but in the inside, I'm like just bouncing off the walls. So
yeah, hey, I mean, we should collaborate, big conference, virtual conference. Joining, gather this force together. Again, podiatrists in America also, a lot of them agree. They have that weird mindset going on that we're not MD, So again, well, if you feel inferior or weird mindset toward the MD, two ways to beat that. To me, one way, you just become so good at what you do, like surgical skills, special expertise. Second way, probably it'll be easier, but don't take this wrong way. But second way, you become more successful financially. You become more wealthy, more financially successful, and then that I call it social bully, adult version of bully, that'll go away, and people start respecting you more, and because they're gonna wonder, what do you do? I thought you were a podiatrist. Well, how come you drive that kind of car? How come you live in that kind of house? Well, you don't have to explain things. And I don't know in Australia how it is like, but I'm just being very vulnerable and honest here in this show. I feel like you're opening me up to go into more like that things that a lot of US based podiatrists are holding on to, and for some reason being shy or not wanting to talk about. But you don't have to be that way. Be good at what you do. Defend it like a hell. I call it, go to the top of the mountain and defend it like hell. No matter what happens, if you believe that service is your niche, you have to defend it. You have to defend it like there's no tomorrow, and be successful financially.
No, it's interesting that you say that, because in Australia, for example, and Australia, UK, and because I've been dealing with podiatrists for a number of years in all the different countries, I got my head around their thinking a little bit more, and I have seen exactly that. And in Australia especially, like even the term doctor. In Australia, we're legally allowed to use the term doctor. Majority of podiatrists would never use it because they go, "Oh, we are not worthy. But we shouldn't be using that title." And you go, "But legally you're allowed to." "Oh yeah, but I think anyone that does is stupid for using it." And you go, "But they're legally allowed to." And what it is, it's because they're comparing themselves to, say, general practitioners or other professions. And I don't understand that mindset. I look at it this way: if I want to use it, I'll use it. And if somebody says I can't, I'll go, "Well, legally I can." It doesn't really bother me.
Yeah. Again, I've been through that social bully, institutional bully. But then again, maybe because I'm a survivor, I feel like I'm a survivor in the United States. Maybe I have a different mentality, but maybe not, because I see my colleagues who were born in the United States going through same thing as a podiatrist. That's why I came up with that idea. Again, if you want me to talk about a little bit about the minimally invasive foot surgery.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on that before we finished up. That you do teach minimal incision surgery as well.
Yeah. It's been popularized back in the day, 70s and 80s. United States was huge minimally invasive surgery, but then they went through some political, fight, and they became victim of that whole political fight, and then it went to completely under the shadow for, I don't know, maybe 30 years, 20 years, maybe 20 years. And that's why a lot of young podiatrists and a lot of practitioners, we never heard the term minimally invasive surgery until recently. But then my mentor, Dr. Stephen Isham, he was one of the pioneers of MIS. And then he went to, because of the political trouble in the whole climate, he didn't give up. That's why he's my role model, because he believed in what he did. And then he didn't give up. He went to abroad. He went to Europe. He went to South America. He went to Asia. And then he started teaching orthopedic surgeons in MD people. So he trained so many thousands of orthopedic surgeons during those 20 years of the dark days in United States. And then now, because of health climate change and whole in-office procedures getting popular, and reimbursement issues of plating system and screw system in the United States, suddenly minimally invasive surgery, minimal incision surgery is a big surge now. So that was my one thing that I didn't say earlier. 2014, that triggered my whole cascade of idea. Okay, this is it. This is the one I'm going to go after, become good at it, and I'm going to promote it and defend it, and I'm going to start helping other doctors. So that's the story of minimally invasive surgery for me that changed, whole vision and picture of the podiatrist as a practitioner. So I hosted 3 minimal incision surgery cadaver lab conference in Chicago. 3 of them. And then I opened to anybody, any profession. So we had a general practitioner came, and we have a lot of orthopedic surgeons came. Again, that's why you don't have to feel like orthopedic surgeons versus MDs versus podiatrists. We all provide healthcare. They're not good at what we do. We're not good at what they do. If someone trying to bully you, like I said, you have to have that strong few niche, become good at it, so they cannot be condescending or ignore you or weird attitude. And because your belief and you have a proven track record, you have a proven social proof, nobody can touch it.
I think that is fantastic. And you're still running these courses at the moment, or not while COVID's going on?
Oh, I do.
Still doing them?
That annual conference, the big one, is canceled. It is rescheduled to next year.
Yeah.
But again, that doesn't stop me. So, I have a small private group setting. I limit to 5 doctors, and I still train them once a month because I really believe there is a power and benefits of minimally invasive surgery that you can utilize in your practice.
Well, I think that is a great way to finish on. So, Dr. TJ, I want to thank you for coming on the Podiatry Legends podcast, sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, your inspiration. So thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. And again, I'm launching my own podcast too, and I'd love to invite you as my guest.
I'd love to come on.
I'd love to continue to collaborate with you. And thank you so much for inviting me. I feel it's almost an hour, but it flew like 15 minutes to me, and I can chat with you all night.
No, it's been it's been a lot of fun actually. And so, do you know the name of your podcast yet?
Yeah, it's again Podiatry Profits podcast.
Okay, that's perfect. And when's that coming out? When's that starting?
Next week, so August 7th, maybe August 10th or something like that. So next Monday.
Okay, that's good. So this episode will come out just after that, so people can start hunting down your podcast. Also remind people that go to optout.com.
Optoutbook.com.
optoutbook.com
Yeah.
to order the free book. Just got to pay for the postage. And so Dr. TJ, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tyson. It was fun.
You've been listening to the Podiatry Profits podcast with Dr. TJ An. To find out more about Dr. TJ An or discover how you can grow your podiatry practice, visit drtjan.com. Or you can also get a free copy of Dr. An's best-selling book, Opt Out: How to Take Back Financial Control of Your Private Clinical Practice Without the Hassle of Insurance Companies. Just go to optoutbook.com.